thumbs up from our media team. All right, so it is Tuesday, July 14, 2020. We'll call this meeting to order at 9 a.m. We will ask, excuse me, that you rise if you are willing and able for the Pledge of Allegiance, or for the invocation followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. And Pastor, I'm sorry, I don't have your last name on my notes, but I'd like to introduce you.
David Griffiths.
Griffiths. Pastor Griffiths has joined us, and we appreciate it.
I was blessed to pray over your meeting the other day that we all zoomed in on.
Very good.
So part of my prayer at the very end, just so you know, is going to be to read, not sing a children's song. Okay, a little short 4 statements, but let's pray. God, we're in an unprecedented times and uncharted waters. We know that locally, nationally, globally. And we really, Lord, we want to cry out to you as the lone creator of heaven and earth and humanity. We need your wisdom, Lord. Your words tell us that if we ask for wisdom, you'll give it to us in abundance. So God, I feel like that's my job today in my prayer, is to ask you to encompass all these who are in leadership for our community. They're making decisions. The information in the decisions changes around them so quickly. Sometimes, it's daily, and sometimes it's even hourly. And they're trying to make decisions in the middle of that. The emotions are running high. We're not always sure even what the truth is because the information changes on us. I pray your wisdom over every decision maker in this room, in this meeting. Lord, there's some that are in government who aren't there. There's some who are in education, in health, business, the faith community. Lord, they're all trying to make good decisions, again, in this unprecedented environment. And I pray for your wisdom above their natural wisdom. I pray for your knowledge above their natural knowledge. God, we are desperate and in need of your divine help. So, Lord, I pray that in this environment of fear and confusion, that you're going to give those in leadership in here sanity and clarity. And then the song is, Jesus loves the little children, all the children of the world, red, brown, yellow, black, and white. We're all precious in his sight. Jesus loves all the children of the world. In Jesus' name, amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Pastor. Moving into our printed agenda, clerk will read.
Approval of the minutes of the regular meeting on July 7th, 2020.
Has every member had a chance to review the minutes? Is there any discussion or proposed changes to the minutes as printed? See none, I will make a motion to accept the minutes as printed.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. If there's no discussion on said motion, clerk will open a roll. Members will cast their vote. With the result of 7 yeas to 0 nays, the motion does pass. Madam Clerk.
Under the public agenda, we have Linda Veal regarding her son Justin Gaston's death, which was on February 17th, 2019.
We're going to divert the floor to Megan, who I believe is at Century 2 for Ms. Veal. Wait, that's not Megan. Welcome, Ms. Veal. You have 5 minutes.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm here. I came before you today about my son, Justin Gaston. On February 17th, 2019, my son got got into a 2004 Cadillac DeVille at 6:05 p.m. Justin was taken to the City Host Motel. As Justin was trying to get out of the car, Justin was shot in the back. What a coward. Ran over him, left him to die at 6:33 p.m. On February 18th, 2019, my husband Andy called me to let me know Justin had been shot and no longer with us. Afternoon of February 18th, 2019, Detective Chisholm came to my home, assaulted me, and pushed himself into my home with a high-tech guy. No court order, no search warrant. Started tampering with evidence on my home cameras. Chisholm was out of his jurisdiction. I live in the county. Quite apparent, our Wichita PD has no respect for the law, courtrooms, or our citizens. 1, perjury. 2, falsified statements. 3, tampering with evidence. 4, identity theft. Hit and run. The last I knew, hit and runs were illegal. Insurance fraud, again, illegal. My son Justin was killed by the hands of the Wichita PD. Their car, their weapon, their cash, their drugs. And I have the facts. As Detective Chisholm said in homicide, stated in court, we do it all the time. How pathetic is that? They state for us, if we see anything, then come forward and say something. Well, I'm standing forward today, and I'm asking for charges to be brought up against these officers for their negligence in the insurance fraud and the identity theft and the tampering with the evidence. And I have the facts. I'm trying to put my son to rest. And I have a gentleman sitting in the Sedgwick County Jail trying to be charged for it, and the judge has it on hold. Thank you, and have a good day.
Thank you, ma'am. I believe that is the only person listed for the public agenda, Madam Clerk. Oh, do we have more? Or,
Mayor, we have Brandon, Councilmember Johnson, who has a comment.
oh, my apologies. Councilmember Johnson.
Thanks, Mayor. Hey, Megan, could you ask the young lady to come back to the mic, please?
I think it's Naomi.
I was looking
Yes,
at
she's
Megan's
back.
picture.
Apologies. Ma'am, we had a council member who wished to speak to you, and so that's what is happening right now. Councilmember Johnson has the floor.
Thanks, Mayor. Could you shoot that information to me in an email? I'd like to meet with you one-on-one about that. My email address is bjjohnson@wichita.gov.
She said she could write it down for me. Yes, sir, I can send you an email. That would be appreciated. I've sent out quite a few. And just to inform you, the mayor that we have now was not the mayor at the time that this happened.
I understand.
And if you don't mind also including me on that email, that would be appreciated. I think Naomi could forward you my email as well.
I appreciate that, Mayor.
Any further questions?
Yeah, I'd like to be, actually,
Of
maybe
course.
all the council, if we could do that. I think we'd all like to.
There was a
have that
request that
information.
you include the council with your email as well. So Naomi, I'm sure can forward or get that information if you don't mind, including all of us with that email. That would be great.
I have no problem with that. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, ma'am, for being here today
Have a good day.
as well. All right, Madam Clerk.
Consent agenda items 1 through 13.
Has every member had a chance to review the consent agenda items? Chair recognizes Council Member Tuttle.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I don't want to pull the item, but I just want to make just a special note about 2.8. It's the extension of the food box program. I just think it's a great opportunity to, again, highlight Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Kansas for being the first funder for this program, and then also our incredible housing department for going above and beyond and trying to make this happen, especially when a few months ago things were really especially intense and in housing and trying to keep all of their residents safe. But now we're going to be able to extend the program. And right now, when we see numbers increasing with COVID across our community and across our state and really the nation, there's no better time to make sure that our most vulnerable, the elderly, are receiving healthy food at home so they don't have to go out. So again, I don't want to pull it. I just thought it's worth mentioning and getting some special recognition for Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Kansas again, and then also for our housing department. So thank you.
Very good. Is there anybody else who would like to speak to an item on a consent agenda? See none. With that, I will make a motion to pass the consent agenda as printed.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. If there is no discussion on said motion, clerk will open the roll, members cast the vote. With a result of 7 yeas to 0 nays, the motion does pass. Madam Clerk.
Evergreen Library renovation.
Good morning and welcome.
Morning, Mayor, Council. Chris Sewell, Facilities Division Manager, Public Works and Utilities. This particular project's unique in that it's been in the planning for roughly 2 years. It's to co-locate the Neighborhood Resource Center. Sorry, the buttons don't seem to want to work here. There we go. Co-locate the Neighborhood Resource Center within the existing footprint of the Evergreen Library to turn it into essentially an Evergreen Community Center. It will also include updating the backlog of work that's at that particular building, including the roof, some of the HVAC systems as well, and bringing the interior up to the current city standards for libraries. We've been working with Schaefer Johnson Cox and Frey Architecture since 2018 on conceptual designs and various floor plans to figure out how to get all these various services within that existing footprint within the budget that we knew would come to exist. So with this item, we have $650,000 worth of GO bonds for Evergreen Library to initiate for 2020. This would be in addition to $1 million that was already set aside from Hyatt sale proceeds. That brings the total project budget for this to $1.65 million. This project was also included in the master plan that was recently endorsed last year. And with that, I would say staff recommends initiating the $650,000, and there's also a design contract for Schaefer Johnson Cox and Frey to complete the design of the project and contract administration throughout construction. With that, I'll stand for any questions.
Other questions of staff? See no questions from the bench. Is there any questions from the public for staff or comments? See none. Discussion will come back to the bench. If there's no further discussion, we see Brennan Johnson is on the list. Council member, you have the floor.
Thanks, Mayor. I just wanted to say I'm excited about this project for District 6 and all the work that's been put into it and the potential that it has to really serve the community there and bringing in all of those partners, and great job.
Councilmember Bluebach.
Thank you, Mayor. And I wanted to echo the same sentiments myself and Councilmember Fry and Councilmember Claycomb. We're all on the library committee, and did want to extend appreciation to former Councilmember Janet Miller and having the vision to make this allocation before she was off the bench. Appreciate what she's doing here.
Is there any further discussion? If not, our chair recognizes Vice Mayor Claycomb for a motion.
Thank you, Mayor. This is an exciting day to be able to get the $650,000 from the library fund and combine it with the $1 million that came from the Hyatt funds to be able to create something that I think is really innovative in Wichita and a new community center. So with that, I move that the City Council approve the contract with SJCF Architects, approve the project, adopt the bonding resolution, and authorize the necessary signatures.
I will second the motion. If there's no discussion on the said motion, then clerk will open the roll. Members cast a vote. The result of 7 yeas to 0 nays, the motion does pass. Madam Clerk.
Evergy Direct Renewable Participation Service Agreement.
Good morning and welcome.
Thank you. I'm Laura Quick with the Public Works and Utilities Department and the Utilities Optimization Program. The item I'm presenting to you today will benefit the entire city if approved to move forward, and not just water and wastewater utilities, but this did start out as a utilities optimization initiative, so I'm going to start off by explaining why this was identified as one of our strategies. So as a reminder, the mission of the Utilities Optimization Program is to reduce the costs and failure risks of water and wastewater systems. We formalized our optimization team and our goals in the fall of 2018. We're preparing a more comprehensive update of the program, but today I'll focus on this energy saving strategy. So one of our goals is to identify and implement projects that result in savings, hard savings of $3 million per year, to be achieved mainly through energy savings, chemical savings, and revenue recovery. For the energy savings piece, we're looking for projects that will save the water and wastewater utilities $750,000 per year. These strategies listed on the slide are examples of projects that have already been to council, have already been approved, and are either in progress or already completed. We're working on some energy audits. Those will be available soon, so we hope to be back before too long with some innovative energy efficiency projects that will result in savings for the utility. The natural gas transport contract is a completed project that gave us access to lower pricing for natural gas at our facilities. And like this project today, it also provided a citywide benefit. The project we bring today is similar in that this is a no-cost agreement with an energy utility, in this case Evergy, and this is an opportunity that's only available for large customers. This is a direct renewable participation service, which is a fancy way of saying wind energy. Evergy created this program in 2018 for large customers to offset energy use through a renewable wind source, or renewable resource. This opportunity is somewhat time sensitive because the opportunities to join this program are only available when new wind farms are constructed. Evergy is actively seeking out customers to reserve the capacity in this new wind farm. But we have actually had quite a long time to review this opportunity. We first learned about this program in late 2018 when the Soldier Creek Wind Farm was being constructed, but at that time the available capacity was reserved by other customers before we could complete our analysis and get the necessary approvals. So since then, staff from both Utilities Optimization and Facilities has been able to study this opportunity, model the savings, and even verify our conclusions with the consultants that are conducting our energy audit. So now Evergy has approached us again with this opportunity to reserve capacity in the new Ponderosa Wind Farm, and we're confident this is a good opportunity for the city. By signing up for the program, we'd be joining other public and private institutions, including Cargill, Textron, VA Medical Center, Sedgwick County Zoo, the City of Manhattan, and several Kansas universities. The terms of this contract, there's no cost to participate. We would be replacing an existing surcharge that appears on all of our utility bills with a new surcharge. The difference in the two surcharges, the current surcharge is the retail energy cost adjustment surcharge. It's a variable charge. Over the last 5 years, it's averaged 2.1 cents per kilowatt hour. The new charge that we would be seeing in its place is called a renewable participation charge, and it would be fixed at or possibly even below 1.8 cents per kilowatt hour. And so with the fixed charge instead of the variable charge, we would be seeing some stabilization in our electricity rates. To analyze this opportunity, we looked at what that current surcharge has done over the last several years. We looked at how much the wind blows in Kansas, how much electricity we used, and we used all of that information to calculate our potential savings. And what we found is that if we had had this opportunity 5 years ago, the water and wastewater utility could have saved $140,000 per year. Of course, it didn't exist 5 years ago, but that provided a good comparison to what we could expect. But we don't need to stop there. We know that if this is good for the utility funds, this is going to be good for other city departments as well. So we expanded our analysis to look at the electricity used across the city organization. So it turns out that if we had been able to sign up for this program 5 years ago, it would have saved us $1.6 million or $326,000 per year. So the way this program works is that we would be reserving a share or a percentage of the electricity generated by this wind farm each year For example, if we sign up for a 30 megawatt share of a 300 megawatt wind farm, we're agreeing to purchase 10% of the electricity produced each year. But of course, we never know exactly how much the wind is going to blow. In some years, it's going to blow less than average, and so when that happens, we wouldn't be able to buy as much of our electricity at the lower fixed rate, and we would need to buy the remainder of our electricity at our normal current rates. But then in other years, the wind is going to blow more than average, in which case we still have to purchase all of the energy that's produced, even if that's more than we actually use. And if that happens, Evergy would then give us an 80% refund on the excess electricity that we didn't use. So clearly purchasing more electricity than we use would eat into our savings. And so we want to make sure we don't get into a situation where we're buying energy that we're not using. So to protect ourselves from that situation, we recommend reserving less than our predicted consumption. So part of our analysis was to look at the variability in our energy consumption, the variability of wind in Kansas, and what we believe is our potential to reduce energy in the future through conservation measures. Taking all of that into consideration, staff is recommending that we reserve 30 megawatt share in the new wind farm, which is approximately equal to offset 70 to 80% of our annual consumption. And that share would allow for variation in wind production as well as future energy efficiency projects. A couple of benefits to this program. We can take credit for using renewable energy, and by credit, I mainly mean bragging rights. It would also give us the ability to help us with sustainability initiatives. For example, if we choose to pursue a certification such as LEED for cities, this project would meet the standard for one of the LEED criteria. Obviously, we'll also have a financial savings, and that breaks down to an average of $140,000 per year for water and wastewater utility funds, and $186,000 per year for all other funds. The savings would begin in 2021, and the staff recommendation is to approve the agreement with Evergy and authorize the necessary signatures. And with that, I'll take any questions.
Chair recognizes Councilmember Johnson.
Thanks, Mayor. Just one quick question to make sure I understand this correctly. So you're predicting we would save about $326,398 per year, but if we don't use the full 30 megawatts, we'd potentially get a reimbursement 80% over and above that $326,000.
Right, so the $326,000 is what we would have saved on average over the last 5 years at this rate. The credit comes into play only if we use much more than what we've actually reserved. We'd have to have quite a bit higher than an average wind year and not use everything that's produced, and we'd get a credit back for that energy we did not use.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions from the bench? Open it up to public input. Is there discussion from the public? See, now we'll bring discussion back to the bench. Councilmember Fry.
Thank you, Mayor. I forgot to ask this question. Where's the location of this Ponderosa wind farm that's going to be built?
It's south of Liberal on the Oklahoma side.
In Kansas, but just south of Liberal.
It's in Oklahoma.
It's in Oklahoma?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
So this will, just to clarify, bring our city renewable energy to 70 to 80%.
Correct, on average.
Are there other cities that we're comparable to who have renewable energy at 70 to 80% or above?
I have not looked into that, I'm sorry.
Excellent. Other questions? See none. With that, I will make the motion to take staff's recommended action to approve the agreement and authorize the necessary signatures so that the city can have a 70 to 80% renewable energy source. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion has been seconded by the Vice Mayor. And if there's no discussion on said motion, clerk will open the rolls, members will cast the vote. With a result of 7 yeas to 0 nays, the motion does pass. Thank you. Madam Clerk.
2020 City Americans with Disability Act improvements.
Welcome again.
Good morning again. Chris Sewell, Public Works. This particular project is part of an annual amount of money we have to address ADA improvements throughout the city. Here you see a couple examples of what's planned with this particular pot of money. curb and stair repairs at various locations, ADA door openers, ramps at Osage Rec Center. It's also a pot for anything that comes up in the interim that we have to meet compliance with ADA. And with that, there's not too much more detail to it. We just recommend initiation of the 2020 ADA. Stand for any questions.
Are there questions about this item from the bench? Are there any questions from the public? Check see if we got any text messages from staff. There's no questions from the public. Discussion will come back to the bench. There further discussion? See none, I will make the motion then to take staff's recommended action to approve the budget, adopt the bonding resolution, and authorize the necessary signatures. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded by the vice mayor. If there's no discussion on said motion, clerk will open the roll. Members will cast the vote. With the result of 7 yeas to 0 nays, the motion does pass. Madam Clerk.
2020 automated building controls.
My apologies, you'll be seeing me a lot. Crystal, Public Works. This particular item, once again, is within the Public Facility CIP. It's an annual amount of money to address a backlog of work for automated building controls. These controls are what control the HVAC systems within buildings. Majority of our systems are 20 plus years old. We're having difficulty getting parts for them. The software is no longer supported. So with this $100,000, in addition to some money from last year, we would use that to upgrade the remainder of the Wichita Art Museum's control system. Part of that was already upgraded during an HVAC project that has just been completed. And we would also upgrade the backbone main server at City Hall, as well as if we have any other remaining money, we'll address critical facilities that have aging systems as well. So with that, our recommendation is to initiate the CIP for this item. Stand for any questions.
Are there questions on this item? Any discussion on the item? Any discussion from the public? Seeing none, discussion will come back to the bench. If there's no further discussion, I will make a motion to accept staff's recommended action to approve the project, adopt the bonding resolution, and authorize the necessary signatures. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. If there's no discussion on said motion, clerk will open the roll. Members will cast the vote. With a result of 7 yeas to 0 nays, the motion does pass. Madam Clerk.
2020 Century 2 repairs.
Chris Sewell, Public Works again. This is also another annual amount of money, $250,000 every year for the next 10 years to address backlog of work at the Century 2 complex. After talking to staff as to what were the most immediate needs that they felt were in the most risk of failing and causing interruptions to operations at that facility, the recommendations were to replace a rooftop unit on top of Expo Hall, as well as what's listed here as water circulation pumps, but it's for domestic water circulation within that building, drinking water, hot and cold at your faucets, as well as any other sudden break fix repairs that need to happen to make sure the facility remains operational in the interim. And with that, we'd recommend initiating the CIP for this item. Stand for any questions.
Other questions or discussion on this from the bench? Councilmember Fry.
Thank you, Mayor. Chris, could you tell me approximately how much per year we spend on Century 2 repairs? What's been our recent history?
I'd have to get back to you on that. Off the top of my head, I'd say it's probably less than 100,000, but I'd have to get the numbers back to you.
And are these particular repairs something that is a long time coming, or are they recent issues that have come up, or describe these repairs in a little bit more detail?
These particular ones, this rooftop unit that need repaired, it is original to Expo Hall, which was built in the 80s, so it has long been due to be replaced. The recirculation pumps as well have probably twice their expected lifespan. So yeah, this is a backlog of work that's been due for quite some time.
Okay, thank you.
This question might be for the manager. I had some questions online about why we are borrowing this money or bonding it, and I was hoping you could speak to that for those who are watching.
Yes, Mayor, the funding source for this is transient guest tax, And you'll notice that for almost every project that we bring forward, capital project, we give you a bonding resolution so that we have the flexibility to either borrow or to use cash for the project. And it'll just depend on our cash position at the time, how much money we have in the transient guest tax, and we'll make that decision upon the completion of the project. But this, if you don't approve the bonding resolution, we lose the opportunity to possibly bond if we need to.
All right. Other discussion from the bench on this? With that, I'll make the motion to take staff's recommended action to approve the project, adopt the bonding resolution, and authorize the necessary signatures. Is there a second?
Second?
Motion has been made and seconded by the vice mayor. If there's no discussion on said motion, clerk will open a roll. Members cast their vote. Motion will pass with a 7-0 vote. Madam Clerk.
2020 parking garage and surface lot improvements.
Chris Sewell, Public Works again. Once again, this is another annual item in our public facility CIP to address parking garages, surface lots. The items with this $100,000 that we would take a look at is the Gander Mountain Garage requires a little bit of repairs structurally. Nothing that's unsafe at this moment, but things that we want to get ahead on. Rounds and Porter, while we're not doing a major work at that lot, it does have major issues out there, some small craters that need addressed, as well as any other lots that pop up as immediate needs. So with that, we'd recommend initiating the CIP for this item. Stand for any questions.
Are there any questions about this item? Any discussion? Take it out to the public. Is there any discussion? See none, discussion will come back to the bench. If there is no further discussion, then I will make the motion to take staff's recommended action to approve the project, adopt the bonding resolution, and authorize the necessary signatures. Is there a second?
Second?
Motion has been made and seconded by the vice mayor. If there's no discussion on said motion, then clerk will open a roll. Members will cast their vote. The result of 7 yeas to 0 nays, the motion does pass. Madam Clerk.
2020 information technology data cable replacement.
Chris Sewell, Public Works again. Last one. This is $100,000 of annual CIP money to replace the IT data cabling within this building. It's being upgraded from the old Cat 5 to new Cat 6A standards. What's listed here as priorities is the order of the work that would happen with the remaining money. Cabling has already begun to be replaced on floors 7 and 8. So this money would finish that work and then move to floors 11 through 13 and then 5 and 6 if funding allows. We're presenting this on behalf of IT. And with that, we recommend initiating the CIP for this item so they can begin their work. Stand for any questions.
Are floors 1 through 4 already done?
I would have to ask IT. I don't know the answer to that right now.
Any questions on this item? See none, I will recognize Councilmember Bluebog as it apparently this falls into District 4.
All right, thank you very much, Mayor, and I'd like to go ahead and take staff's recommended action.
I will second that. With that, we've had motion and a second. If there's no discussion on the motion, members will cast a vote once the clerk opens the rolls. With the result of 7 yeas to 0 nays, the motion does pass. Madam Clerk.
Zone 2020-11, city zone change from single-family residential to general commercial, generally located 150 feet south of West 31st Street South, 1,500 feet west of South Broadway Avenue, 3218 South Waco.
Good morning, Scott Wadle from the Planning Department.
Good morning.
The item before you is a request for a zone change, as you've heard. The rezoning would allow the applicant to store equipment, trailers, and conduct indoor storage at the property. The applicant has been using the property in this way and was informed of the zoning violation and is seeking the rezoning to help achieve compliance. General commercial, which is what they're applying for, is the least intensive zoning that allows for outdoor storage as the principal use. The surrounding zoning includes limited commercial and SF5 single family. The Planning Commission and DAB 3 voted to recommend denial. Members of the public spoke at the DAB meeting in opposition to the rezoning. The application may be denied with a simple majority vote. It may be returned to the Planning Commission with a simple majority vote, or it may be approved by overturning the recommendation of the Planning Commission with 5 of 7 votes by the City Council. And here's the PowerPoint with some more images of the site. So here's the zoning map. Here's an aerial that shows the property. Here's the map from the comprehensive plan showing it recommended as residential. Here's a picture of the property to the north of the site. Here's looking southeast towards the site. There's the fences around it. This is looking directly east at the property, on the south end of the property, and then the residential houses to the directly across the street to the west. Here's the aerial, and I'll stand for any questions.
Questions? Discussion from the public? Seeing none, we'll bring it back to the bench. The chair recognizes Councilmember Clendenin as this falls in District 3.
Thank you, Mayor. We had quite a robust discussion about this at our district advisory board. It was unanimous at the wishes of the community on this, including MAPC. Everybody seems to be very aligned. So I am going to recommend the City Council adopt the findings of the MAPC and deny the requested zoning change. And this case, nope, okay, that's my motion.
To speak to the motion, chair recognizes Councilmember Fry.
Actually, can wait till after.
Till after.
Just a question for the staff. Go ahead and do the vote. But.
We need a second on it.
Second.
So the motion has been seconded by the Vice Mayor. Now it's open for discussion. So Councilmember Fry, you may, if the discussion's about the topic, this is the appropriate time.
Okay, so basically if this is approved, Scott, what happens to the property? What's the next steps that you know of?
Well, my understanding is that the instances for which they've been cited would still stand because it would not be zoned appropriately for those uses. So it would turn into a code, it'd really be an enforcement issue.
So has it been cited previously to this?
I'm not aware of that. It does indicate, though, that that's what prompted this rezoning.
Okay. Thank you.
Is there any other discussion on the motion or the topic? Seeing none, the motion has been made and seconded. Clerk will open a roll. Members will cast their vote. The result of 7 yeas to 0 nays, the motion does pass. Madam Clerk.
Foster Youth to Independence voucher request.
Good morning.
Good morning. Sally Stang from the Housing and Community Services Department. Today, the item we have before you is a request for the Foster Youth to Independence vouchers. So the Section 8 Housing Choice Voucher Program provides rent subsidies to low-income families, elderly and disabled. The program is administered by the Wichita Housing Authority through the Housing and Community Services Department, and we cover the Sedgwick County, Butler County, and Harvey counties. The HCV program is funded by and regulated by the Department of Housing and Urban Development. In 2019, HUD developed a new program, the Tenant Protection Voucher Foster Youth to Independence Initiative, the TPVFYI, like we needed another acronym. This program provides voucher subsidy for youth age 18 to 24 with a current or prior history of child welfare involvement who are homeless or at risk of homeless. In the homeless arena, youth are identified at that age of 18 to 24, as true minors would become wards of the state. This program requires collaboration with the Public Child Welfare Agency and the Continuum of Care through a Memorandum of Understanding. And the vouchers are effective for no more than 36 months. Eligible PHAs must not currently administer the Family Unification Program, which we do not, and we can request up to 25 vouchers per fiscal year. The voucher request must be made by name for specific eligible youth identified by the welfare agency and the continuum of care. These vouchers sunset when no longer used by the identified youth. This is very different than all of our other vouchers. Usually when someone returns a voucher, we can issue it to another eligible applicant. In this case, we cannot. Supportive services must be available to the youth served. We developed an MOU between the Housing and Community Services Department, the Department of Children and Family, the Continuum of Care, and we actually added the Workforce Alliance, as they have many resources available to youth and to the homeless. Prioritization will take place through the Continuum of Care Coordinated Entry Committee, and the supportive services will be provided either by Department of Children and Family, an agency of the Continuum of Care, or a Workforce Alliance as appropriate to the individual youth's needs. There's no impact to the general fund. We will receive additional housing assistance funding for the vouchers and administrative fees. And at this time, we recommend the council, as the housing board, authorize the housing authority to request up to 25 tenant protection vouchers under the Foster Youth to Independence Program. And I stand for any questions.
Vice Mayor Clayco.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Sally, for the presentation. I don't have a question. I just want to say that on many of my meetings and calls with continuum of care providers, youth homelessness has been an identified issue. And so I really appreciate that you were able to identify this program and take advantage of it. I think, while it's sad that we need it, it is fortunate that it is available. So thank you.
And if I could add too, that memorandum of understanding was written in a way to not only take advantage of this program, but sets the framework should additional programs become available under family unification or the youth homeless demonstration program. So we'll already have a framework established and be able to act quickly should those resources come available.
Thank you.
Councilmember Johnson.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to echo the sentiments of the Vice Mayor. This is wonderful that you've been able to take advantage of this. When I worked in youth services at the Salvation Army, we had some foster care young people who would get discharged and they would leave with the bag on their shoulder, and that was it.
Yeah.
And that was one of the key issues I thought those young people faced. And there's one young person who's still homeless to this day because he didn't have this type of help. So I appreciate this and glad to support it.
Councilmember Clendenin.
Thank you so much for for diving into this program and doing what you can. Just to reiterate, some things that some of my colleagues have said, I've been very intimately involved with St. Francis Services and over at the Mount, and them trying to do the same thing and bring in some of the youth that are homeless, that have nowhere to go. I know a lot of them sleep in the offices over on Harry Street, right in the heart of my district, and don't have a place to go. And so I'm glad that we're stepping up as a city to do what we can to help homeless youth. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
I can't compliment what you guys are doing any better than what has already been said. I'm wondering though, and I don't want to take away from any of the time that you've spent looking at ways that we can serve our community, particularly our homeless community, but if there's any way that we can get a somewhat of an outline or just a list of all the great things that we've been able to do, your office has over the last 6 months, I think that would be really great. I'd love to be able to talk about this even more. It seems like your office has just been on the front line of figuring out best ways to utilize all the resources on different levels of government to serve our community. And I'd love to just get a list of that so we can talk about that and kind of brag about the work that your office has been doing.
No problem.
Excellent. Is there any further questions on this? Seeing none, with that, I'll make the motion to take staff's recommended action to approve the Wichita Housing Authority's request to the Department of Housing and Urban Development for 25 tenant protection vouchers under the Foster Youth and Independence Program. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by the Vice Mayor Claycomb. If there's no discussion on said motion, then clerk will open the roll. Members will cast the vote. With the result of 7 yeas to 0 nays, the motion does pass. Madam Clerk.
Councilmember comments and appointments.
Let's start off with appointments. I will make an appointment that to reappoint Dr. Teresa Burks to the Animal Control Advisory Board, as well as appoint Richard Roof to the Animal Control Advisory Board as the mayor's appointment. Are there other appointments?
I have one, Mayor.
Councilmember Bubak.
Thank you. I'd like to reappoint Cheryl Alstrom to the CSBG Review Committee.
Other appointments? Seeing none, I'll make a motion that the appointments be made. Is there a second?
Second?
The motion was made and seconded by the vice mayor. All in favor, please indicate by hitting your yay or nay button. With the result of 7 yeas to 0 nays, the appointments passed unanimously. On to comments. There are comments from the council. See none. With that, we will entertain a motion to adjourn. I so move that we adjourn.
Second?
Motion has been made and seconded by the vice mayor. If there's no discussion on said motion, members will cast their votes once the clerk opens the roll. The result of 7 yeas to 0 nays, the motion passes unanimously. We are adjourned. Thank you.